Well, today is a very special day, everyone. I would like to welcome our one and only special guest. Join me today to bring to you all the importance of how he joined the forces, what drives him, what makes him super unique and special. Our one and only Peter Kandinov.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Olga. Thank you for having me, first of all.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate this. And
Absolutely.
I think that I will be able to share a lot of information that will be helpful and useful for our listeners.
Beautiful. Well, Peter, let's begin with your journey. I remember years ago how you used to help me working for one of the most known attorney in the community. You used to work for him. He used to handle all my contracts. And I didn't remember you exactly at this point when we connected recently, but you reminded me, hey, Olga, do you remember who I am? And I said to you, no, Peter, I was referred to you as an expert financial advisor that I was referred to you by our wonderful photographer, Leah, who said to me, Olga, you have to interview Peter. He's an amazing human being. He is a police officer right now, and he is also in financial world. He helps people, navigate the financial future, help them, get into life insurance, help them organize their finances, and you pretty much help people do investments. So I'm just so excited to have you today with us here. Let's begin. So what really guided you and drove you to police force? What made you feel like this was the time for you? And I know you're very successful with all your past stories, but what really drove you to police force?
Well, first, I want to say this is how small the world is. That's why you never burn the bridges, no matter what you do, because
Absolutely.
you always know, you never know who you're going to meet and when you meet the same person.
Correct.
Yeah. So my journey, that's an interesting journey that I had. Well, it started in 1991 when we came to the country from Azerbaijan, me, my mom, my papa, and my dad, and my grandma. And we were basically staying at my sister's house. It was actually a one-bedroom apartment. She just gave birth to a newborn and having another child. So four of us, 8 people in one-bedroom apartment.
Unbelievable.
And, thinking back to those days, I'm thinking, how is it possible 8 people, staying, no one had any issues whatsoever. And now you have mansions and people still having problem, living together. But when I came to the country, I was 15. And for me, without any knowledge of English, it was all about learning a new environment, new country, new language. And I started with actually selling hot dogs on the streets of New York.
Wow.
At that time, it was Alexander's store on 63rd and Queens Boulevard. Never forget. Yeah.
It's gone.
It's unfortunate. A lot of businesses are gone. They used to be around. Yeah. But back in the days, my salary was about 10% of what I used to make.
Unbelievable.
Which would be anywhere from $6 to $10 a day.
Unbelievable.
Right now, if you say that, people will probably send me to psychological evaluation saying that, how could you work for something like this? But you know what? For a 15-year-old, having known English and having nothing else to do, because we came in May, so there was no school at that time. And instead of sitting at home, I decided to, let me go out, let me experience what the life is all about, learn language and so on.
Excellent.
So then I went to school, Forest Hills High School, I graduated. While I was in school, I was also working a couple of jobs at that time. And I realized after graduation that I don't have time to go to college because I needed to work. And, in our culture, it is used for people to get married early. So I gave myself a word that I'm going to be able to marry only when I'm able to support myself. So with that said, my parents didn't come from a rich background. We were well off back there, but when you come here, you're starting everything from the beginning, from the scratch. So I didn't have chance to go to college. I needed to work full time. So I decided to join financial world.
Nice.
I always wanted to be a police officer, but because my uncle, he was actually very high-ranked police officer in Ministry of Internal Affairs in Azerbaijan. He was pretty much third in charge. And back, I guess it's in the blood, but back in the days, the salary was so little that there is no way I could have afforded to have a family and being able to do what I love to do. And I always love to help people. So I decided to go in the financial world, and that's how my journey started. Started working as a teller part-time, and then it's advanced, See, one thing I realized by listening to others, back those days, I was told that if you want to learn, no one can stop you. And if you don't want to learn, no one can make you.
Correct.
So I made sure that no matter what job I attempted to do, I learned how to be the best. And at the age of 25, because of everything that I observed, everything I realized how to become the best. And I also realized during that time that many people come to work to be there for a paycheck. And many people come to work not only to get paid, but also to be better for themselves, for others, and those surrounding them. So I try to learn as much as I can and try to advance. And at the age of 25, I became assistant vice president at Banco Nacional Paribas without having a degree, managing people that were in their 50s and 60s, twice my age. And one thing that I asked from all of them, I did basically when I just came the first couple of days, I was kind of having conversation with each one to learn who is going to be working with me. Not for me, but with me, because you have to respect people and you have to treat them like a family. And basically everyone said the same thing. We don't want responsibilities. And I said, that's awesome. For someone who has no college degree, who is willing to take responsibilities and who is willing to be better, thank God I am who I am, and I don't want to be paycheck to paycheck. I want to be successful and I want to advance further. So that's how I started my advanced career, because now as assistant vice president, you're already an advanced level. But then in 2006, late 2006, I decided to go after the big bucks. I joined the mortgage industry on the wholesale side. Little did I know what's about to come. And in 2008, I started working for Greenpoint Mortgage at that time. Then, again, my come in, learn, and become better helped me a lot because I had zero experience. And when I went for an interview, I was told that, don't worry, we'll get you all the tools, and we're pretty sure you're going to be successful once you have all the tools. And we'll give you accounts. Little did I know that the accounts that they will give me will be the dead accounts that no one else wanted. So they gave me accounts that were not producing on a wholesale side. So I looked at it, I'm like, all right, there's no point of going back. I dropped a good salary, I dropped the position for a chance. Let's see what I can do. So one thing that I started doing, and I started to go to those accounts and asking them what would be the difference between them sending a loan to, let's say, Chase versus to Greenpoint Mortgage at that time. And the response was pretty much everywhere the same. We want customer service. Right. And being in the banking industry, I knew how to deliver that. And I gave them my word that no matter how long what type of questions they have or how busy I am, I will give them a call back within 2 hours. And within 6 months, I became top rep on the East Coast of the company. So because, again, I took accounts from zero and I brought them to millions of dollars in production just because of customer service and just because of the work ethics that I had, and I learned. And then I was approached by another competition, IndyMac Bank, because they saw that they were losing deals to me and they wanted to bring me to join their team so they can grab a bigger piece of the customers out there.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. And at that time, Greenpoint actually was trying to hold me back and give me area manager position, but I decided, again, to take the chance. And I did. And the year was 2008. As many of you know what happened in 2008, the financial crisis happened. And literally after 3 months of joining IndyMac, Greenpoint went out of business. So I was kind of happy that it happened. A little did I know what's ahead. And, this is a good example that no matter how high you are, always remember the fall can be really bad.
Of course.
But when you fall to the ground, remember, you can't go more down. So the only way is to go up. And that happened to me a few months after working for IndyMac. What happened was during the financial crisis, the stock of IndyMac was going from $40 to $3, $3.25. But the CEO of the bank every week would have a conference calls with all the employees saying how good we are, how strong we are, and to believe in him, believe in the company. I did. I was so much of a believer that I was investing into a stock of that bank exclusively. I had $40,000 invested just in the stock of that bank. Wow. And then one day I woke up, I had no job and I had no money. And the reason for that was because apparently CEO was cooking books.
Oh, wow.
And the bank was taken over by feds.
Wow.
And, people did not lose money because FDIC guarantees $250,000 insurance, but all the employees were gone and all the stocks were worthless. So I was at the bottom with 2 kids at that time, a house and a mortgage and a wife, of course, that wasn't making as much, So what do you do? And I don't want to be that character from Winnie the Pooh. Oh, poor me, without being even on unemployment for even 1 week, I started looking to see what's out there. Luckily, because I had a name in the industry, I was approached by Lime Financial from Oregon. And they said, listen, we're trying to get into New York market. We heard about you. Come join us. No problem. I wasn't doing much, So they took me to Oregon. They trained me, sent me back to New York. Well, it lasted 3 weeks.
Wow.
They sent me a letter saying that we apologize, we can't handle the New York market, you no longer have a job. And that was a turning point because at that point, that's all I knew how to be in financial industry. And I decided, you know what, let me pursue my dreams and see what I can do in a field that I always wanted to do. And that's how I took the test to become a police officer.
Wow.
That was 2009. And it was a while before I heard back from NYPD because at that time there was a big pipeline of recruits that wanted to join.
Wow.
And the process took about 2.5 years. Now it's a little faster.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And during that time, I worked for that attorney. And again, I never regret anything because I got so much experience in different fields right now
Of course.
that is actually helping me now. And I've been a police officer for the past almost 12 years in July.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you so much. And in the past year, I've been assigned to health and wellness section where we concentrate on mental health being of police officers, civilians, uniforms, members of NYPD. And because of my past background in finances, and during this time, I actually also got licensed as financial advisor. I'm a registered representative now for financial company where I do investments for people, life insurances, as you mentioned, because there is a need so much of education, financial education. And I decided to bring all of that knowledge to NYPD. And in 2019, I created a financial club for the department.
That was big trigger for me to bring you on board here because a lot of people that I'm surrounded by, they make money, they spend money, but unfortunately, they don't know how to invest. And you and I will talk about it on our future episodes where we're going to talk about the children and the finances and the investments. And all of this will cater to our audience. But this what really inspired me to bring you into this opportunity where you and I can talk about it, about the program that you wrote. This was very inspirational. So let's continue.
Thank you. And actually how this came about, I was assigned at that point to Employee Assistance Unit. And with that unit, we always get confidential calls and we are able to help without asking who they are, just offer the help. Sometimes it's just people who are calling and want to talk to others on the other line without being judged. So in 2019, I got a phone call from a member of service who did not want to disclose his information. And for about 40 minutes, we spoke. And he mentioned how tired he is of his life, job. And for 28 years, he said, I've been doing it and I'm just tired. During that conversation, because I'm also a trained mental health aid responder, so during that conversation, I asked him, based on the conversation, I did not like where it was going. I asked him if he was suicidal. And the response was absolutely not. He said, I've been doing it for 28 years. If I wanted to kill myself, it would be done a long time ago. And I asked him, give me a good reason why all of a sudden you did not change your mind and wouldn't kill yourself. And he said, I have 2 kids. I won't do that to them. When I hung up the phone, he had my personal cell phone number. And we agreed that if he ever needs anything, he can call me on my personal cell phone number, because in that unit, that's what we do. We help others, And the coworker that was sitting next to me, he goes, oh, I know who this is. I said, how do you know who this is? He goes, because I heard your conversation. And the same guy calls our unit every couple of months. And it's the same story. He was talking about how he wants to move from Long Island to Queens, how he's tired of everything. And he goes, and one time he forgot to block his number, and I took down his name.
Wow.
And 2 months later, we responded to a suicide.
Wow.
And it was the guy.
Wow.
Okay. And by having conversation with his coworkers, I realized that he was afraid to retire. Now, with 28 years on, his pension at that point would be over $12,000 a month. And I don't know many people that can say, I cannot afford to live with $12,000 a month.
Right.
Okay. We have people that survive $2,000, $3,000.
Yeah.
This guy was about to make almost $13,000. It was 12 and change, and he did not think that he will be able to survive. And that year alone, we had 24 suicides in NYPD.
Wow.
14 of them were retired.
Unbelievable.
Okay. And I thought to myself, I'm like, what is a cause where you work so hard all your career, and then all of a sudden you're going to take your life away after you finished? Right. I understand with all the stress that active members of service have, but when you retired, what is it that triggered?
What's the trigger?
So I realized that part of it could be either financial, domestic, or alcohol. And usually financial stress leads to all of that. Correct. So that's how the idea of financial club came along. And it's basically, there is no membership fees. It's just us helping each other. We share the knowledge. We're using Telegram app we have a few different groups, general financial tips, stock chat, real estate investment chat. We even have day trading chat, where people post what they buy, what they sell, and if anyone wants to follow, they follow them.
Amazing.
So it's a
It's a nice
network
community.
of police officers, civilians in working for NYPD, sharing information and knowledge with each other.
That's great to know.
And I'm part of a club. I decided to take a little further. I decided that, where else can you turn to an environment where nothing is being sold?
Right.
You have someone who is licensed, giving you information and tools, and what you do with it, it's up to you.
Correct.
And when it comes to finances, I always say it's not how much you have, it's what you do with what you have.
Correct.
And I decided to create a course for the department.
Beautiful.
We came up with myself and another 2 members of service that had a financial background. We gathered together and we created financial literacy classes that we teach right now at the academy a couple times a month. And we started with 8 people. They were a little bigger than this. And now we're at 120 every class, around on average. Yeah.
What a difference you're making in people's lives.
Someone has to do it, Olga. I always tell it's not always about the money.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's just helping another person. And you know what? I'll tell you a quick story that, I actually saved a person's life from the class.
Wow.
And the way it happened was, in a class, I always talk about financial wellness. I talk about mindset. I talk about, how we're supposed to take care of ourselves first before we start worrying about, everything else. And during the class, I always give out my personal cell phone number. And as I was driving, that event happened with this person in January. In the summer of that year, I was driving and I get a text message. It was a Russian officer saying that, Peter, and I'm driving with my kids. What will happen to my family when I kill myself? Now, for a second, I'm on the highway and I quickly took a look at it. Again, don't judge. I know we're not supposed to use the phone, but you know what? I just took a look at it and I'm like, wait a second, what's going on? Who is this? So I pulled over and I have kids in the car and I'm like, okay, I have to make this phone call. And they're like, Daddy, what's going on? I'm like, I have no idea. And I don't even know who this person is. And then I remembered the name.
Unbelievable.
I'm like, oh my God. So I had another phone with me and I called him. He's crying. My kids started to cry because, you have a grown man who's a police officer crying on the other line. And they started to cry too because they felt what's coming. They felt what's coming from there. And from my other phone, I was calling my coworkers because with us, we can respond to a police officer and take care of the police officer without job getting involved. That's how much of the unit has confidentiality. And I was able to hold him on the phone while someone responded and grabbed him. And for 2 weeks, he was in a hospital, admitted. And now in about a few months, he's going to be retiring. And he's in a much better place right now. So he did not lose his job, and that's a person who basically was about to take his life away. And I actually had 2 cases, but this is one of them,
Wow, what a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
You never know how much what you say can affect other people, even if it's years from now. But that's why I always say, watch your words, because your words are very powerful.
Absolutely.
And they just like a wind. Once you say something, you cannot take it back.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of inspiration, where do you get inspired from? You are very, very put all together. Like, it doesn't look like you get distracted by what's happening on the streets. And especially now, speaking about what's happening now in the community overall, and we made an agreement, we're not going to talk about anything negative, but let's admit, it takes a strong mind to stay focused. It takes a strong mind to stay really in control of your behavior, your intentions. What drives you to stay motivated, to keep going every day?
That's a great question. Sometimes I ask myself, what does it take to motivate others? And, first of all, you have to take care of yourself first,
Absolutely.
Right? In order for you to be able to help others.
Sure.
And for me, it's helping people. I tell you that being a police officer, it's one of the greatest careers that I could have chosen, because of all the differences that I see that I made on other people's lives. And again, even when it comes to a regular police work, when I was assigned to my previous command, which was 107, I know at least 2 cases where people actually wrote thank you letters, and one family actually, even a few years later, they saw me in the streets and they just approached and thanked me for that day. Because for me, every job was different. And every job, I wanted to make sure that when I leave, people already know what's the next step is and how to control the situation better than before I arrived, because sometimes, unfortunately, especially when it comes to domestic, we all have different characters, and sometimes two people cannot be together. Or sometimes it's just a little tweak that you need to make in their difference that may bring them together again. And, and unfortunately in our communities, and in every communities, there is
right.
Disputes, misunderstandings, but it's being adults. That's what matters.
Right.
And I'll give you a quick example. Even when it comes to divorces, unfortunately, a lot of the times it becomes a battle.
Yes.
Custody battle. Oh, he's this or she's that, But I usually tell people, listen, a few years ago, Facebook was full of words. Hey, today I'm marrying my best friend. Think about what was the difference between then and now. Go back. Maybe it's worth starting pretend you're dating again,
right.
Go back, see what led to this. And do not blame others because you married that person.
Correct.
So the only person you should be blaming is you.
Correct.
And especially when it comes to kids, they did not deserve
for
parents to be fighting. And I'll give you a quick example. My partner, he's Italian, my former partner. And when he got divorced, okay, it didn't work out. They had a child together. But now he's married and his ex-wife is babysitting his kid.
Oh, wow.
And he's doing repairs for her because he's handyman too.
Wow.
So that's the relationship. And they did not have attorneys. They basically went through mediation, signed the agreements. Okay, it didn't work out, but let's live as adults.
Wow.
And that's the problem that we have in many communities.
That's
People cannot live as adults.
Correct.
They feel that, oh, he or she did this to me. Now I'm going to punish them.
Right.
There's no reason for that.
No reason
Be
for
adults.
that.
They didn't work out. Move on.
Absolutely.
So, but that's what motivates me is helping others. And, my wife, I usually use her as an example. She's very religious. She has different Talim's groups where, she tries to make a difference from a religious point of view on people's lives. She does lectures and so on. For me, I try to help people with my time and with my wisdom, I guess.
Yes.
So, because a lot of times religious aspect is great, but sometimes you have to have that personal approach too.
Absolutely.
And that's what I try to do.
Well, thank you, Peter, for sharing
Absolutely.
your beginnings, your humble beginnings, I should say. And everyone, please watch our future episodes where we're going to be sharing so much more wisdom and information with our wonderful Peter Kandinov. Please follow him on social media. Please follow him on YouTube channel. And he's got a beautiful program that he wrote with Financial Club on YouTube. Please find Peter on YouTube and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
And I just want to give my YouTube channel this way. If they want to subscribe, I do a lot of financial tips there for NYPD and not. And it's very easy to remember. It's youtube.com/@Financial Club. Very easy to remember.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Stay tuned.
Thank you.